talk about some emotions. So we'll see how it goes. Those of you that know me and see me on stages know that I really don't like to have a written script, and yet this felt like the night for it. So bear with me a bit. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Tom McGovern, Danielle, where are you at? There you are. And John, thank you so much. And also to Tori and the rest of the team at the American Cancer Society and Coaches vs. Cancer. This just has been unbelievable. So big round of applause for all. I get to sell pizzas for a living, and it is awesome. And Dr. D'Souza here saves lives, and all the folks with the American Cancer Society, they're helping folks like me get through situations like this, and it's pretty awesome. But I'd like for you all to give yourselves a round of applause too for being here, the contributions, the focus, all those things. So please, give yourself a big round of applause. All right, so you get to hear my version of the story now. It's a little different than Dr. D'Souza's, and I only found out tonight that I was in a 3 for that surgery. Not sure about that. He is a rock star. He's the reason in more ways than one that I'm here with you. So thanks for the introduction. Thanks for all that you've done for me, for my family. It's guys like you that make a difference every day, so thanks. You know, a lot of us spend time on airplanes, and you think about that story you always hear from the flight attendant. When you take off, they tell you if the oxygen mask falls, parents grab the one for yourself first. You got to put yours on and then help your kids. I've heard it 100 times, and it honestly kind of rings counterintuitive every time. It's like, no. Take care of the noisy youngsters. Make sure you take care of your family. Get that thing strapped on to Ainsley Engaged. But the reality is that it really reflects the fact that as a parent, as a human, as all those things, the real answer is that you got to strap it on yourself first. You heard Dr. D'Souza talk about it. You heard others talk about how this is about us. We've got to focus on ourselves. And it makes sense, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. You can't help your kids, you can't help your mom, you can't help the rest of your family. And so having the right priorities doesn't mean you care less about others. It means that you got to focus on the entire list, not just on those that are around you. It means that you've got to think through everything that it takes to conquer the whole. So I had this moment that Dr. D'Souza talked about last November, and I'll tell you how it went for me. I walked in, I had executive physicals for the last decade at Wendy's, and I started a new job, and it's no joke that pizza saved my life. It's not a joke. Yum is a part of our executive compensation, sends us to the Cooper Clinic, which is an unbelievable facility. And I walked in, I had my day with the new doctor, and I was expecting to hear something like, quit hanging out with the media community and eating so many steaks and drinking so much alcohol. Because your cholesterol is too high. And Dr. Johnson actually did tell me that. What Dr. Johnson also said as an aside at the end was, hey, by the way, the radiologist called. And there's a mass in your chest and we're not sure what it is. Whoa. I was hoping for, a couple of pills, like walk out of there, maybe a little more exercise, and it's like, now what? And, that moment last November was when my oxygen mask fell off. And suddenly it wasn't routine anymore. That visit was everything but it. And I remember calling my mom and telling her after I talked to Kelly and saying, look, here's the news I got, and we actually have no idea what's going on. So we've all heard about the stages that might follow. I'm not sure, Dr. D'Souza, if this is a technical term, but I definitely started in the freaking out stage. And then came denial, and finally I did what I always do, I jumped into solve it mode. Back in Dallas about 3 weeks later, I was still gearing up to be the big take charge executive walking into a massive franchisee meeting, which if any of you guys work with franchisees, you know that it's not always roses and unicorns. And the radiologist called and said, hey, what we suspected is true. You've got a thymoma. And I said, I'm not sure what a thymoma is, but moma sounds like cancer, and that doesn't sound great. I said, yeah, it's a tumor in your chest. And to say that I was slightly distracted in this high-stakes meeting the next day would be the understatement of the century. A little distraction, a lot of intrusion, both figuratively and in reality. Another 3 weeks had me ushering in the new year with an MRI at 8 a.m. on January the 1st, exactly how everybody wants to spend their new year. There were also quite a few people at the party who were like, Loredo, what's up with you and no champagne? I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. That was a joke. And on January the 16th, I met Dr. D'Souza in the operating room, and look, it's a very specific date for me, and if a guy like this had done for you what he did for me, you'd circle it in red too. So, removing my thymoma in the traditional way would have involved literally a saw and pulling me open, and that was the part that I wasn't super interested in, so I guess I'll take the N of 3. I have a feeling there was a saw in the room just in case they didn't get it done right. He's nodding his head, people. This is crazy stuff. But truly, to be able to walk out of that OR, and I remember telling Kelly, it was like, I want out of this hospital as fast as possible. I feel like way more bad stuff can happen hanging around here, so how fast can I get up and get out of here? And honestly, as I came out of the OR, the nurses kept saying, are you sure you don't need more pain medicine? I'm like, I feel like I'm answering this question wrong when I keep saying no, but I feel pretty good. So, here we sit. It wasn't the end of the road. I soon learned that I had to follow up with radiation treatments, and March and April of that year were tough. And here's the part of the story that I just want to make sure you hear from me, is like, man, when you're fighting for your life, like, life doesn't stop around you. And you hear things like, each day is a blessing, and the cliches around that. I'll tell you what I am more reminded of is Mike Tyson and his famous quote, which is, everybody's got a plan, so you get punched in the face. And I did. But to me, I'll tell you, even Iron Mike didn't